Good morning. It's time to get in touch. In Touch is a public affairs show dedicated to improving the lives of Susquehanna Valley residents. I'm Freddi Hammer, News Director at Backyard Broadcasting. The time in which we live is very challenging. We see many scenarios each day, whether in media or in person, that show people distrusting, fearing, or even hating others when we ourselves may greatly desire to see love, trust, and harmony with our neighbors and community. Well, how do we fix it? Well, one man, along with his church family at First Church Williamsport on 604 Market Street, desires to see that harmony between neighbors, and he's planning Transform 2022, which is a week-long event this August to help neighbors in our community. We've got Ben Conrad today, Director of Community Engagement from First Church Williamsport. Hi, Ben.
Good morning. Hi. Thanks so much for having me on today.
Absolutely. It's great to have you on In Touch, especially such a beautiful church like First Church Williamsport. It's beautiful. One of the oldest churches in Williamsport, isn't it?
It is. It's lovely. It was built, I believe it was 1927 or something like that. It was finished. So Depression-era church with just lovely stained glass windows and absolutely gorgeous.
Wonderful to be there. It's probably a really nice feeling to have the legacy of the people that have done so much in this area to continue what you're trying to do.
Yeah, I'm actually not from Williamsport, and I've been here a few years, and I just keep hearing from congregants and folks in the area story after story of people who, either built the church or were from families who built the church, just again and again digging into the community. So it's a great heritage for me to hopefully try and contribute to.
Well, it's really neat to hear about Transform 2020, which is basically a volunteer program to help neighbors and nonprofit organizations in the area get some home repair. And I guess my question is, how did this all start? When did it start?
Oh, it started a number of years ago before my time. I came here for college at Lycoming College and then found a job here at the church and just stayed and kind of fell in love with Williamsport. But one of the things that attracted me to First Church was their program of Transform and other programs that they run similar. About 9 years ago is when my friend and coworker Mitch started Transform off. And it was really from this kind of groundswell in the congregation and in the leadership here at the church of really feeling convicted and compelled to be the kind of church that was more outwardly focused, looking into the community, evaluating what the needs are, and contributing meaningfully to those needs as opposed to kind of this isolated, we're only worried about ourselves kind of church. Mm-hmm. They had a heart for seeing where other people were at and how can we kind of unite as a city, as a Williamsport area, in new and meaningful ways. And so they started this about 9 years ago. We've been doing it every year. It's kind of taken on a little bit of a new shape each year, but we've kind of gotten some of the nuts and bolts down to a science after this many years. We have a dedicated kind of core team, but we love being able to meet new people and kind of connect with new organizations and new churches that kind of come alongside us each year. And so now it's really not, we don't necessarily view it as a First Church-owned ministry as much as a First Church-hosted ministry.
Nice.
It's one of those things where it's the city of Williamsport that does this, and that makes it happen through volunteering and through showing up and through committing themselves, and we are just the hosts that lay the table.
Before we get into how people can get involved, I just wanted to mention your mission statement from your website, which is firstchurch.cc. And your mission statement says, to create multiplying disciples of Jesus by living into a gathered and sent expression of the church, which is such a beautiful sentiment because you're gathering at church and you're sending your people out to help.
Yeah, that's been something that we've been trying to communicate for a while. And when we read Scripture, we see kind of that gathered and sent mentality where church and what the life of faith means is not simply to come together over a shared worship service once a week. So that's an important part of how we express our faith. But faith is supposed to have implications of sending as well. We're taking the transformation within ourselves and the kind of benefit and the growth that we gain from it in order to make this world a more flourishing and a more joyful and connected place. And we really do believe that that's what faith is about.
You call your program Transform, and you're transforming homes and maybe even lives, but aren't the people that are working also transforming in a way?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So I think there's multiple levels, and if this is what you're referring to, let me know. So I think there's multiple levels of transformation that happen that I've noticed within myself, but also other families that get to serve alongside each other that, maybe they haven't really spent a whole lot of family time together lately, and they get to spend a whole day or even multiple days working on the same project together and communicating in different ways. Or you get to take your church team or your organization team, wherever you work at, and you get to take them into a different context and serve alongside them. And it just, the new atmosphere, the new context, meaningful work, it's just what humans were wired for. And so it really provides opportunities to build some pretty healthy and great relationships alongside new people.
I was wondering about that. The relationships you've made probably have lasted the entire time you've been there.
Absolutely, yeah. So not just within the church, people that are in the church volunteer and serve, and so I get to kind of build different relationships with them, but also people from Harrisburg have come up to volunteer. We actually are working with a church in Maine that has really gotten a passion for the Transform kind of idea, and they've asked us to come and help them figure out how to start one of their own. And so that connection would never have happened. There's all sorts of kind of connections that have happened over Transform in my own life that I'm really grateful for and that are lasting.
There's great pictures on your website, again, the galleries from each of the years where the projects are getting different projects each year of painting or craftsmanship. What do you look for first? You need people, you need projects, and you need funds. Basically, those are the three things.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're blessed with a fair amount of each, but the reality is the more projects we get, the more people and the more funds we would need. Mm-hmm. So if we ever hope to really maximize the effect of Transform in the beautifying of our city and the helping out of our neighbors who might need a hand, communication is the first biggest need, just letting people know what they can do. And as you referenced before, our website is kind of the best way to go to do that. So we have a page, it's firstchurch.cc, and then /Transform. If you go to that website, everything's on there. And so there are two forms, one of which is a home repair application or nonprofit application. So for anyone who might have either some landscaping or some yard work that's heavy duty that needs done, or a fence that needs painted, or any sort of projects like that on their home, they're welcome to submit one of those applications so that we can understand where they're at, who they are, and the kind of work that needs done. And then our logistic team takes those applications and sees, okay, well, how many man hours do we need? What resources do we need? What funds would we need? And then we kind of plan accordingly to those projects that we get. So that website, you're also able to volunteer. And we really love when we see families volunteering together or teams at an organization volunteering together, so we can put you on the same job and on the same kind of team. And that would be just a great way to maximize the volunteer experience for you as well. And then, of course, there's the financial donation side that, unfortunately, with building material prices and paint prices rising, that means that our budget bottom line has to rise as well. And so there's ways to do that on our website as well. There's a give page, and you can identify that you're specifically giving to Transform so that all the money goes directly to that project.
Gift cards also available to give if you're interested in giving like a Home Depot gift card or a Lowe's gift card, something like that.
Absolutely, yeah. So if you have gift cards that you're not going to use, or if you prefer to buy gift cards, we would love that, because we visit places like Lowe's quite often throughout the week of Transform getting materials. But we've also been really trying to benefit local organizations and family-owned businesses. So gift cards to local, whether it's paint stores or local hardware shops. We visit them quite often too and try to build relationships with them. And we do move a lot of material, and so we love to see that going into the local economy as well.
Great. So we want to make sure that we have those funds. And we're working on this for August 1st through 5th. That's going to be the time when the work gets done. Yeah.
So anyone who is volunteering can volunteer for as little as half a day. So you can show up for a morning at any time or an afternoon at any time. Or we have volunteers that they take a whole week off work, or if they're retired, they're able to be present for the whole week. So we really try our best to make it open to visiting or for collaborating with your schedule, however that's best for you. And that's all laid out on the application form. But every first week in August is typically our time frame each year for Transform Mission Week.
So is something ever left to the next year? Have you ever had anything going like that?
This is a great opportunity for me to make abundantly clear how incredible our volunteer teams are.
Okay.
So we have already started getting applications, and we have just about 7 or 8 project applications already, which is pretty early for us. And so our volunteer team is already at work. They're going to these sites and evaluating what materials we would need, what kind of manpower we would need on these sites as well. And so there's all this process before Transform ever even happens of planning and making sure that the week of, all the volunteers that come in, they have a job, they have the tools they need, and they just get right to work.
Wow.
So there's all that pre-planning. But then we have had situations where whether it was because the materials weren't available, or whether it's because we weren't able to get it done by Friday on the last day of Transform, there were projects that were left undone. And what we saw happen is, for a couple years actually now, this has happened where there will just be a volunteer team that says, you know what, we'll pick this up next week.
Oh,
and
cool.
so they take another day off, or they dedicate another day or two, and they just bring up a team of them, like their own volunteers, whether it's people who were already there for the full week or just their friends or family. And we've just seen them go out and get the projects done the next week. And so we've never, as far as I'm aware of, we've never had a project that was left undone.
Do you have any good examples of just people being grateful for the work that's been done, just how they've reacted or what the reaction or the outcome was?
Yeah, actually, we've had a few really positive stories shared with us. And what we do is on Friday, the last day of Transform, we throw a big celebration barbecue that everyone's invited to. If you volunteered, if you were an owner of one of the homes and the nonprofits that we were serving at, everyone is welcome to be there. And we just cook out, and we have long games, and we just kind of celebrate together and kind of hang out together. And then there's a time of sharing during that kind of celebration ceremony. And that time of sharing is really powerful way for us to hear from the homeowners and volunteers, like highlights through the week, ways that they've seen good things come about, people to kind of highlight some of the volunteers that they've seen really go above and beyond, or just the ways that they've stepped out and kind of served the people around them. And we've heard a number of stories from our homeowners who, with the way that the market is now, they either can't afford to pay for somebody to do the project themselves, or we get a number of folks who are physically unable to, whether it's age or handicap. Mm-hmm. And so just getting to hear their appreciation is really validating to the volunteers, saying that, we're not doing this for ourselves. We're here to help other people out, because we believe that that's the way this world should work.
Yeah.
When we wake up in the morning and there's needs around us, how can we meet those needs? And then when we have needs, who can be there with us? And we want to build that kind of sentiment in Williamsport. So we hear a lot of that on our Friday celebration days.
Do the other pastors and other people of the church, do the other pastors come and help at the Transform Week too?
Yeah. So Transform is one of those times where everyone kind of gets to pitch in. And so last Transform, our lead pastor here, his name is Pastor Matt, great guy. And so he and I painted a porch together, and the man is a gifted preacher and talented in many ways, but I think he got more paint on himself than he did on the deck that day. But it was
he has
great
to diversify a little bit.
Yeah, it was great for us to see, even for us as ministry staff and the kind of things that we get to do. It's really gratifying for us to kind of get out and work alongside people, because sometimes it can feel like a lot is asked of us, but we're kind of here isolated in a bit of a ivory tower of ministry, and we don't really get to build relationships in meaningful ways, in the ways that we would really like to see happen all the time. And so Transform is one of those ways we can do that.
I hope you're able to invite some of the people that may be working that aren't members of your church to come. I hope that works out. I hope they do come and visit with you.
Yeah, we've seen quite a number of people who aren't members of our church volunteer in past years, and that's one of the things we really want to encourage is this is not something that is restricted to just First Church people to volunteer. If you want to be there, you are welcome to be there, and you don't have to be able to lift 50 pounds and roof shingles and all those sorts of things to be a part of Transform. We feed our volunteers every day, and so we need volunteers who are able to make some sandwiches and help pack lunches, and people who are able to drive materials around in trucks and that sort of thing. So there's always a way for everyone to kind of pitch in and be a part of Transform.
It does sound like looks like a really neat, encouraging, gifted group of people from your website. Again, looking at the different pictures, your wife Katie and you work together there, and other groups, and it seems like other married couples are part of the staff.
Yeah. So we have a couple pairs of couples on staff, and that actually works out really well. So my wife is the creative director at the church, so she does the website, all the videos and the photos and stuff like that. And then I do all the community engagement. So we get to work together quite a lot, which luckily we like each other, so that works out well.
I saw that you have something called the ACT Network, which is pretty much meeting people where they are, everything that Transform kind of does, greeting people, having them be comfortable enough to come and meet with you.
Yeah. So the ACT Network has been around a while as well. And that was also my friend and colleague, Mitch. It was kind of spearheading the ACT Network. He's got a huge passion for going outside of the four walls of the church and meeting people where they're at in order to build meaningful relationships. And so he started the ACTS Network, and that's essentially a way for us to design ministries out in the community that are more connecting than maybe inviting somebody to come to church on Sunday morning. So there are a lot of people in our culture that don't want to come to church on a Sunday morning, and that's okay for the time being, and we want to meet them where they're at. And so we do things like a Bible study on Zoom over a dram of whiskey, and we do a yoga church expression, and we have Church on the Mountain, which meets last Saturday of every month, and we just go hiking together and kind of pray together. And there's Christian communities popping up all over the place around different affinities, and it's really a beautiful way to recognize that, you know, the spiritual journey and the religious journey can look a lot of different ways than we might assume.
When things get troubling in the world, I believe we all sort of turn to the fathers in a way, don't we, to sort of make sure, let's shore up our own vessel, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's wonderful. You have another kind of traditional and contemporary worship at First Church, and it's different times on Sundays, as well as lots of other ministering and dinners and things. You guys do a lot of things in the community with inviting people. Yeah. We have a congregation that it has a passion for the community, and that's been really encouraging for me. That's why I have a job here, is so that I can empower these congregants to connect with their community. So we do the Code Blue warming shelter. John and Sue Best had that up. And so every winter, our church opens its doors, and we have a pop-up warming shelter for those who don't have a place to sleep during the winter months. And we do Wednesday dinners to build our community and just invite people in for a free hot meal served by our volunteers. And none of this can happen without dozens of people who are dedicating time and energy because they believe in what it means to invest in our community. Well, it's thrilling to talk with you about these neat projects and seeing that people are transformed from the Transform 2022 and years past. It's wonderful. Online, firstchurch.cc. What is CC? That's confusing to me. Like, well, how come it's not .com? What's the CC part?
Yeah, I think firstchurch.com was already taken, and so we needed a different domain. And then we kind of got stuck with it after a while. So .cc is something that's pretty rare and pretty memorable, so we kind of like that. So it is firstchurch.cc. All of our emails have CC at the end of it as well.
And you have a Facebook page, I assume?
Yeah, we have 2 Facebook pages that people can follow or join. We have our church's public kind of communication platform Facebook page, First Church Williamsport. And then we have First Church Community Group, which is a place for everyone to share good moments, to share things happening in the community and that kind of thing with one another. So we have a pretty constant social media presence there as well. We also have ways that people can submit prayer requests that is received by our pastoral team that's on Facebook or on online presence as well. We have a mobile app that people can download as well. So there's lots of ways you can get connected.
All right. Well, let's get ready for August 1st through 5th, which is going to be your Transform Week. And nonprofit organizations or people who need help can just go to that website, fill out the registration forms, and you guys take it from there.
Absolutely. And I want to extend a personal invitation, too. If there's any questions or comments that people would like to make, they're welcome to reach out to me personally. I'd love to connect. Email me as well.
Ben Conrad, he's the Director of Community Engagement at First Church Williamsport, and that's located at 604 Market Street. Well, Ben, we'll reach out to you if we're interested in volunteering or coming to a service or any of the things that you do with community engagement. Thank you and the pastors at First Church Williamsport, your wife. Thank you so much for all the work that you do for our community.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for your time today and for being willing to help spread the word about the program.
Thanks, Ben. In Touch is locally produced in our studios at 1685 4 Mile Drive in Williamsport. To get in touch with us regarding questions, comments, or topic ideas, call weekdays between 8 and 5, 570-323-8200. You can also write to us at 1685 4 Mile Drive, Williamsport, PA 17701. Attention Freddi Hammer. Or email me at fhammer@backyardbroadcasting.com. For archive programs of our In Touch series, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, Backyard Broadcasting. Each current weekly program is featured on the Backyard Broadcasting websites. Individual opinions expressed here don't necessarily reflect the opinions of the management or staff. Thanks for listening to In Touch, a production of Backyard Broadcasting.